You know, I just never know where you've been, so I got to be careful.
Hey, what's up, guys? Chris Canote here, coming at you with another exciting episode of The Chris Canote Show. Guys, I am so stoked about today's guest. Do you know why? Because he is a big, familiar face on the big screen. He's well known for providing the voice of Earl Sinclair on the Emmy Award-winning show Dinosaurs. You've seen him in Hollywood blockbusters such as The Dirt Bike Kid, Honey, We Shrunk Ourselves, Fatal Attraction, Arachnophobia, and more. He has guest starred on over 300 television shows and has also provided mini cartoon voices for the popular series Animaniacs, Batman, Superman, Aladdin, Lilo and Stitch, Darkwing Duck, and so much more. He's also starred in over 35 off-Broadway productions. Ladies and gentlemen, I give to you the 5-time nominated and Cable Ace Award winner for HBO's Not Necessarily the News, the one and only my friend, Stuart Pankin. Stuart, thank you so much for being a guest on the Chris Canote Show.
Oh, Chris, geez, with all those credits, I should be getting more money for this.
Honestly, your IMDb list is just incredible. I know that was quite the introduction, but it is, well, yeah, it is. I mean, I am just so impressed by all the things you have done.
Thank you.
Do you have any nicknames? Because I always call you Stu, and I actually feel kind of bad because I'm like, I thought about it today. I'm like, maybe he doesn't like me calling him Stu.
Lots of people, when they see me, say Brad Pitt, but that's not a nickname. It's a mistake. No, Stu is great. I got a lot of nicknames, but you can't say that in public.
Stu, this is technically the second time you've actually been a guest of my show, but the last time, believe it or not, was 5 years ago. You were on my first podcast called Chris's Arcade. Can you believe it's already been 5 years? Does not seem right.
No, I don't. Time is inconsequential to me. When you reach my age, it's like you're just glad to hear the alarm in the morning.
What has COVID life been like for Stuart Pankin?
Well, like everybody else, I mean, there's a lot of people like you who are doing some great stuff. I mean, filling your time with what you do, so you're still doing that. I have friends that are writing, they're writing, singing, they do these little podcast singing things. For me, I've been doing a few Zoom play readings. I'm hooked up with this thing called New Virtual Theater Works. I'm not sure that's the name, but they do readings of screenplays, which I'm not crazy about. But then they're starting to do readings of original plays, which I am crazy about. I enjoy doing that, so I do that, and a bunch of people have been interviewing me recently. Why they want to still talk to me, I don't know, but it's like you. But I've been doing that, and basically just hanging around the house and seeing my kids, and I used to play golf a lot and I don't anymore, so I can't do that. But you get out. Big day for us is going to mail the mail. I dress up, I put on a coat and tie, get in the car, go to the post office, mail the mail, come back home, get my underwear and watch television.
Now, I gotta ask, why can't you play golf? I mean, it's outdoors, right? Are you guys not allowed to? They all closed?
Golf is starting to go back. There are a lot of strict rules now. My knee's a little funky now, so I have to get that taken care of. But there are a lot of rules on the golf courses now. It must be by appointment. You can't get close to each other. On the course, you have to have a limited number of people in the cart, and you have to prove that I think they even take your temperature. And there's all the tee times are spaced out. It used to be we were just banged into each other, but now they're trying to be COVID safe. And my friends are always saying, "Come on out, even if you can't hit the swing of the club, come and drive." I don't want to do that. It makes me frustrated because I love the game so much. But yeah, golf is coming back, as is a lot of things.
Are things slowly opening back up out there?
Yeah, it opens up and then there's a spike and it closes up. And then there's, and then it opens up and then people get mad about it being closed. So it opens up again. And it's the frightening thing about this pain in the ass bug is that nobody knows anything. I mean, things change. Used to be, oh, it dies after 2 days on the surfaces, and now, oh, they say it can last a week, 2 weeks. You know, oh, you have antibodies. You know, in the beginning of this in February, I was really sick, and you know, the whole thing, fever, cough, not tasting. And my doctor said, well, geez, maybe you had a bout of COVID. I tested months later, no antibodies, but who knows if I had antibodies? Who knows if antibodies help you? Who knows how? I mean, it's terrible. You know, my doctor said measles is a wonderful disease. It's wonderful because you get measles, we can cure it. We know exactly what to do. With COVID, coronavirus, nobody knows anything. So that, you know, that's the frustrating thing and the frightening thing. I mean, when my kids come over, first of all, they didn't come into the house. They used not to come to the house. Now they come in, but we were 6 feet apart, or we wear masks because they go out and they do things and they're worried about us. But at least we eat, you know, we sit 6 feet apart and we eat together. But it's everything's evolving, and it's not necessarily evolving in a good way, but it's evolving.
Yeah, I think it's just a matter of time. I mean, I do think they are slowly learning more. I haven't looked at the numbers, to be honest with you, in a while. I do think less people are dying, which is a good thing. It doesn't change the fact that a lot of people have died, which is horrible. It is scary. It's real. And I just think no matter how you look at it, it sucks. I mean, it really does.
It definitely sucks. There was I think in LA County, we hit our 7,000 fatality today. But the nice thing is, I guess you have to look at statistics and population. Most people get over it. You know, if you're testing positive, unless you're at high risk, and you know, if you're old and have problems, you are at high risk. You got to be careful. We have a friend who's 80 years old, has COPD. She's out all the time. She's going to stores. She goes to work. I mean, seems to be worried about it, and she's fine. And there are people, God love them, who, you know, have never had a sick day in their lives, and they go to the grocery store and they die. I mean, you don't know. This is not cheerful, Chris. Let's talk about something cheerful. Everybody's trying to get
relevant, though.
It is relevant. It is relevant. But it's like a lot of things, you know, everybody talks about COVID, but nobody does anything about it.
Do you think that COVID is going to have this ongoing impact on the acting industry, especially like how it's affecting movie theaters? Like, has the human psyche, you think, changed enough where you think we're heading in the direction of just streaming services only, just because of all of this? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, I think so. I think it's going to be a long time, at least maybe to the end of next year, when theaters might open in New York or around the country. And then you've got to deal with people who are worried about going there. I mean, I don't know if to say that the theaters are open, we'll sit 6 feet apart, you're sitting there with a man. I don't know if I would do that. I'm in a higher risk group, you know, but it's going to definitely affect the movies and TV are coming back slowly with very stringent rules. And even so, you know, people still get infected. Smaller casts, smaller crews, people really staying apart. They're doing things now. Even high-end actors are doing COVID productions, you know, Zoom type productions. But is it going to affect the industry? Absolutely, it's going to affect the industry. It's going to affect the audience, and it's going to affect the way we watch things in the future, and the way movies are done in the future. I mean, I don't have my toe in the water there anymore. I mean, like every day, like I used to. But from what I understand, actors are, everybody's hurting. I mean, everybody's hurting. Businesses are going belly up. And actors and the people that surround the acting industry, the caterers, the laundries, the crew, everybody is hurting. And it's going to be that way, I think, for a while.
Stu, you voiced the iconic character Earl Sinclair in the hit TV series Dinosaurs. When you think of the 90s and think television, 90s television, that show automatically pops up into your head, along with other classics such as Family Matters, Full House, Home Improvement, all those amazing TGIF shows. Now, looking back, did you know that show was going to be that iconic and really just a huge part, if we're being honest, a huge part of American history?
First of all, I don't recognize any of those other shows you mentioned. I remember Dinosaurs. Uh, no, I mean, no. I mean, it's like people ask me when you were doing Fatal Attractions, did you know that was going to be such an iconic movie? No, you really don't. Time has to, and when we were doing Dinosaurs, it wasn't until it kept going. You know what I'm saying? We did it for 3 years. It went off the air, and it kept going. People keep enjoying it. I'll tell you, not to toot my own horn, but I have a horn, and nobody else is going to toot it. During the course of life before COVID, I got 2 or 3 requests for autographs, a month. Now that Disney has released Dinosaurs on Disney Plus, I've been getting 2 to 4 a day. People sending me these Funko boxes, your kids, to have me sign it. Now, are they selling them on eBay? Great, I don't care. I don't, I'm not asking them for a cut. But it's Dinosaurs specifically that people are responding to. I mean, 99.9% of things that I'm asked to sign or to give an autograph for is Dinosaurs. And maybe that's because it's been re-released and there's a new perception of it, but yeah, I mean, Dinosaurs, it's great. It's very satisfying to know how popular Dinosaurs remains. Maybe I don't even know what it was when it was on the air. I don't know those numbers, but now, I mean, and people talk about the ending, that last episode, the end of the Dinosaurs, and how that's affected people, how it affected their kids, watching it and explaining what happened, and blah blah blah. So yeah, it's very gratifying to know that show is as popular and remains popular. Did we know that it was going to be that way when we were doing it? I don't think so. I don't know. I don't think so.
And everyone knows that one line, Stu, and I'm going to make you do it for the show.
What's that?
Honey, I'm home.
Honey, I'm home.
It's so iconic. It's so amazing. Like, honestly, like, when you hear that, it's Dinosaurs.
It's Dinosaurs. We did a Dinosaurs songs, big songs, and I wrote a song called "Honey, I'm Home and I'm Hungry," which maybe I'll send it to you if I can figure out how to do it.
Oh, I'd love that.
Because somebody, I don't remember doing it, but they did a whole, orchestral background. Never got on the record, never got on the CD, but I'll send it to you. I'm kind of happy about it. I'm kind of proud of it.
Honey, I'm home and I'm hungry. Put a creature on the table for me. It shouldn't be a lean one, a fat one, and a green one would suit me too. A T-bone steak, my tummy's a rumbling volcano. I'm thirsty as an ichthyosaur. Friend, I'm getting weaker, so catch a juicy creature for your rabbit is making a sore.
Stu, that show is fixing to actually celebrate 30 years. Did you know that?
Yeah, I did. We just had a Zoom reunion with all the writers, all the producers, as many voiceover guys as it was, like me and maybe I might have been the only voiceover guy. Nobody else wanted to do it. I want to do it. The writers, Michael Jacobs was there, all the showrunners who have now become, very popular and successful in other shows. But yeah, we had a reunion to celebrate the anniversary of it. It was nice to see everybody. I didn't work with a lot of those people because I was in the booth, for most of the stuff. But we met and we saw each other occasionally. And it was nice. It was nice to see him.
Stu, how did that work? I know for animation, you usually watch the animation when you're doing voice acting to match it up and whatnot. And but for something like Dinosaurs, did you just go into the booth, record, and then the puppeteer reenacted and timed it exactly? They just do a playback?
Just the opposite. The puppeteers did the show. They had these elaborate animatronic configurations. I mean, complicated. And they could change it. This finger someday meant the eye would go like this, and then sometime the same thing, they could program it so the mouth would go. So they did all those things based on the script. They did the show, and they voiced it. Now, the guy who did Earl, who voiced it, was a little English guy. So he talked like this, it's like, honey, I'm home. Come on, friend, let me have it. And just talk like that. So that was nice. So that I had to go in and honey, I'm home. And I had to replace his voice. But they did it first. We went into the booth and had to match the mouth. Now that artistic was a little frustrating because we couldn't, as actors, do it the way we wanted to do it. We had to do it the way they did it instead of the way we wanted to do it. But that's the way it was, and it had to be that way. I don't think they ever could have could have matched those movements to our voices. It was much easier to match their movements to our voices. That's the way it worked.
You've done so much work with Disney throughout your career. You've done everything from acting to voice acting in hit Disney shows such as That's So Raven, Girl Meets World, Darkwing Duck, Aladdin, Animaniacs. I mean, I could go on and on and on. Was Dinosaurs the show that got you in that Disney network, or how did that long continued relationship with Disney come about?
Well, I don't remember. I think that's what happened. I think Dinosaurs was 90, maybe more than I do, 93. I don't remember if I'd done a lot of work with Disney before Dinosaurs, but because of Dinosaurs, I got to meet the voiceover people from Disney. Not that they did it, the Henson people and Michael Jacobs' production did the technical work on the voices. But I got to meet, I think his name was Jamie Thompson, who was head of casting at Disney. And because of that, and maybe you're right, maybe because of Dinosaurs, I got my foot in the door and I did other things for Disney. And that branched into Batman and Superman and things that were not necessarily Disney, but your name gets around. I mean, the fact is that there's, sadly, well, first of all, not that anybody cares, but there are, and I'm not exaggerating, thousands of actors who want to be voiceover actors in the world. And but there's only two handfuls of actors that work all the time, and they're great guys. I've worked with them, Rob Paulson and Maurice LaMarche, if you need some of these names, Jim Cummings, Frank Welker. These guys work all the time. They're the go-to guys. And at one point in my career, I guess, I was one of the go-to guys. It didn't last that long because then animation got squirrely in the States and the money ran out and they went to Canada to do a lot of their work because it was cheaper. Now I think it's back. But these same guys, work. I auditioned for voiceovers, all the time. I got one after a lot of auditions. It's just so hard to break into getting a regular voiceover gig. Again, some of these guys have been doing it since they were babies. But yeah, that's it. That's with the voiceover stuff. That's what happened. I think you're right. I think Disney was the kickoff, the foot in the door to get into the other voiceover stuff. And then, Disney, I guess I auditioned for those things, Raven and stuff like that. I worked for Michael Jacobs again on Girl Meets World. I don't know if that was Disney or not, but I auditioned for Michael. I actually had to go in and audition for him, which is great. I happened to get it, but I was just lucky. So every time an actor gets a job, it's lucky. It's lucky.
I don't know. It takes a lot of talent, Stuart, and you're so incredibly talented. And I was going to ask you that, as like I said, you're
going to ask me if I'm incredibly talented? Yes, I am, Chris. Thank you.
I know you are, but your resume is so incredible. So when you're in the career that long, do you have to still do self tapes as much, or have you noticed hey, they pick up the call hey, Stu, you're the guy. We know we want you. Come on in.
Well, first of all, I have not been asked to do self tapes. I've done them in the past. I hate it. I mean, I just hate it. I would do it if it was a real good thing. I don't. Guys of my age, of a certain age, don't. If you look on television and movies, but especially television, you don't see a lot of guys like me on there. Again, there's a handful of guys who do it all the time, and they're usually younger than I. But for it's a young man's game now. It's been a while since somebody's called up and said we want Stu to do something. I mean, and when that happens, it's great. I mean, it's great. But there's not that much work out there for us character actors, and that's now. If you know anybody, let me know. I'll send some big tall guys that I know.
We'll make something together here soon, Stu. It'll be awesome.
I'm ready, man. I'm ready.
You have done so many movies. Your IMDb list speaks for itself. This may be a really tough question for you, Stu, but is there a favorite movie that you have worked on? And I don't mean necessarily because it was a successful film, but maybe because there was a special moment on set, or maybe there was this sense of growth that came out of one of those films.
Well, that's an interesting question. Growth. I don't know if I had any kind of revelatory moment when I was acting. I get them on stage. I mean, when you act on stage, I've done, over close to 80 plays in my life. That sometimes when you do it over and over again, night after night, you all of a sudden, oh wow, that's, as a matter of fact, there's a very famous actress whose name I won't even go into, said she walked off the stage but she won a Tony for this performance. She walked off the stage the last night of the last performance, said to the stage manager, I finally figured out how to do that scene. So that's what happens, in stage. In movies, mostly you judge the role by the size of the role, the paycheck. I mean, the fact, I've had a lot of fun doing a lot of movies. I've had no bad experiences that I can think of. I mean, Fatal Attraction obviously is one of the more famous movies, and Striptease was supposed to be one of the more famous movies, but it wasn't. The most fun I had, to be honest with you, was a little movie nobody ever saw. We did it in a warehouse. It was 12 of us. We played a jury for 2 weeks. It was done on videotape. None of us have ever had so much fun. That was the most fun I've ever had on set because the people were great. George Weiner was in it. Lauren Dreyfus was in it. Beverly Sanders was in it. A lot of people. It was just fun. It was fun. A lot of times in movies, and if you're a regular on a television show, you sort of get in the swing of things. If you're a guest star on a television show, it's tense. It's always tense because you're the bottom rung, and they'll always service the stars. I had a great time. I worked with John Ritter, we became friends 3 times. I did a couple of Hoopermans, and I did Three's a Crowd. Three's a Crowd. That was fun because he was the funniest, one of the funniest human beings, professional human beings I've ever worked with or known. So that was fun. But I'd have to look individually, down the list of the things I've done to see if, oh my God, I really enjoyed that. Oh, well, it was okay. But Fatal Attraction's probably, that's one of the ones that I'm most proud of because Adrian Lyne fought for me to do that. I mean, they did it in New York, and the producers, who I eventually became friends with, said, why don't you get a guy in New York? Because I was doing not necessarily the news at the time. Adrian, God bless his soul, said, I want Stuart Pankin. And I flew back and forth once a week for a month to shoot my scenes for Fatal Attraction, flew back sometimes the next day, sometimes, or sometimes that same day. So that was a very pleasant experience artistically and professionally for me. And that was a long answer to a short question.
I've noticed some actors share that when they wrap a film, they sometimes never watch them. And that just seems really crazy to me. When you wrap a film, do you enjoy watching them afterwards, or do you prefer not to?
No, I watch them. I watch them. Sometimes I get angry because in film, it's not your medium. And sometimes from early on in my career, I saw, I won't mention the project, but an early project. And I saw it. We had a screening at a friend's house. We were all in it together. And they cut it in a way that was just, and I drove home screaming. And my wife said, pull over. You can't. I was so angry because I was used to, the theater. As you still get angry at it. I mean, I had a nice part in The Artist. I shot it there a couple of days, and the nice scenes they cut. They were just gone. So you get frustrated about it. What was the question, incidentally?
Like, you basically said, some actors do not watch their films at all.
I'll
You're saying you do.
Yeah, I'll watch them, even though there's some things that I'll be very happy to watch and refer to or put on a reel. Stuff like that. And then there's other stuff that's, it's serviceable work. I mean, television doesn't ask a lot of you. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't often ask a lot of you. Movies ask a little bit more. But I'm not driven. I haven't done a guest spot on a TV show in a long time. But I'll watch stuff that I've done, that I've recorded over and over again. Most of it is, strangely enough, on the stage. I did some benefits with a wonderful actor named Paul Kreppel, if you know who he is. He was on It's a Living. We did a bunch of benefits for a school. That's some of the best stuff I've done, and the most work that I'm most proud of. I did a thing, another benefit, and I did a thing called Joe from Studs Terkel's Working. That I'm as proud of that as I am on a lot of things or anything that I've done on film. But yeah, I'll watch my stuff. There's, you know, if I like it, fine, and if I don't like it, I'll scream at my cat, and then hopefully just move on. Yeah, but I'll watch it.
I think that's what, as artists, though, keeps us growing. I mean, I'm sure there's stuff you look back on, that you can still go, oh, I wish I would have done that. Or, oh, I mean, do you have those moments, or are you like pretty like content with like, nope, that's awesome? Or like, do you ever watch a scene going, oh, that irks me till this day?
I don't dwell on stuff like that, but yeah, I mean, I'll look at some stuff and I'll go, geez, if I'd only done this, or if I only hadn't done that. To be really pompous, there's a guy, my wife knows his name, he's a philosopher named Saint-Exupéry, I think. What is it? Exupéry. And he says, perfection is achieved, not when there is no more to add, but when there is nothing to take away. You know, I think that's kind of significant. I mean, there are things that she says, oh, I wish I'd done that. But more likely, it's for me, oh, I wish I had not done that. I wish I had taken that away and done a little less of this or a little more. So, yeah, but and sometimes that irks me. But for the most part, I think your mind, it's like when you know you're going to die, you sort of accept it. When you know what's in the can, you accept it. You can't do anything about it. There's a funny story. Jack Lemmon invited Walter Matthau out to a screening of a movie. They're sitting there watching the movie. At the end of the movie, Lemmon looks over at Walter Matthau and says, so, Walter, what'd you think? And Walter Matthau looks at him and says, get out of it.
That's awesome.
Now that would rankle me if my friend said, should have done it.
Stuart, I got more questions coming at you, but first, a word from my friends and sponsor over at 2 Oddballs Creative. Yes, 2oddballs.com. Weird name, awesome results. Guys, if you're looking for amazing web design, if you're looking for Facebook strategy content, all that stuff, SEO, graphic design, logo design, these guys do it all. They do it all, and they do an amazing job. 2oddballs.com. Guys, 2 Oddballs Creative, strange name, amazing results. Back to the show. Halloween is right around the corner, and till this day, Arachnophobia is a Canote family favorite. You played Sheriff Lloyd Parsons in the film. What was your experience like working on this film, and especially with great actors like Jeff Daniels and John Goodman?
Great. Great. First of all, we shot it in Cambria, California, which is beautiful. I shouldn't say that because people are going to go there, and it's sort of a little pocket of perfection. And that was good. My son was young, so he and my wife could come up and spend some time. So that was nice. That's on the personal side. Great restaurants, that was nice. But working with those guys, it was great. I mean, it was also, Frank Marshall directed. I went in to talk to him, and I never auditioned. I just talked. He asked me questions. I never met the man before. Well, thank you for coming in. Goodbye. I thought, well, And then I got the job. Frank just cast it from the feelings that he got from actors, which was great. That was another benefit. But he was great. He was really great on the set. I worked with a man on the movie named Peter Jason, who you may or may not know, another really terrific character actor. We've become lifelong friends for 30 years. I mean, he's one of my best buddies. So that was great. Roy Brocksmith and Kathy Kinney, if you know who they are. Roy died, but we wrote a song. I wrote a bunch of songs for Arachnophobia. Maybe I'll send them to you too. And we actually filmed one of them, and they used bits and pieces of that on the trailer. It's a sweet little town, take a bus, come on down, Kanaima waits for you. At the end of the trip, they'll find blood on your lip, Kanaima waits for you. It goes on and on. So that was fun. That was great. And, working with, what was his name, Moore. He was an old character actor. We actually had dinner with him once. Famous guy, Henry Moore. I think his name was Henry Moore. But to meet with those guys and to work with Jeff Brad McNamara, oh my God, James Handy. Jimmy Handy, another terrific character. There were all some great characters. Miguel Solomon, who went on to direct The Abyss and a bunch of other things, was the cinematographer. There were some great, great people, great experience. It was a nice part, and it was all good. It was all good. There's very few things you can ask me about that wasn't mostly good. But Arachnophobia, everybody got along. We had a good time. Harley Jane Kozak. It was nice. It was nice.
Now today they would.
And it's a very good movie. I agree with you. It's a very good, well put together, a scary movie.
It really is. I mean, it's one that we can watch as a family. My kids aren't too scared of it, but yet it's super scary because spiders. Who's not afraid of spiders?
I agree with you. And they were. If you want me to tell some spider stories, it's kind of fun.
Oh yeah.
We didn't have time yet. They were New Zealand spiders. They cost about $1,100 a piece. And so one day they got us all together and they made us have the spiders walk on us, crawl all over it. So $1,100. So in case you're walking around the set and you see the scene, you go, boom, and you kill $1,100. So they wanted to get us comfortable with the spiders. I thought that was kind of cool.
Now today they would probably just use a lot of CGI for those spiders, but that wasn't the case back then.
No, they used real spiders, and the big spider Jeff was fighting at the end was a puppet, an animatronic, or whatever you call them. It was a big mother puppet. Yeah, I don't know how much CGI they must have used, some, but I remember they went to South America to film the exteriors, and they found real big spiders. It was cool. It's a good movie.
That's great. Yeah, the whole CGI thing, I don't know. We may not get into that. I have a love-hate with CGI. That's why I kind of feel that films were made, in a sense, when it came to special effects. I just prefer... Jurassic Park, I gotta say, that was very good use of CGI. That was amazing. But sometimes it is just overused.
Very overused and very easy. In the old days, before you were, anything, there were limitations, and I always believe as an artist that limitations breeds creativity. You have to be creative. When you can't do blatant sex scenes, you have to come up with cleverness, with writing. The love scene in Spartacus, for instance, between Gene Simmons and Kirk Douglas, there wasn't a breast to be seen, and it was one of the most sexiest scenes in the world because you had to, and CGI. It just so when I watch some of these movies, I'll fast forward through the CGI stuff because it's just boring. It just gets boring because it's such a same. Now I'm not saying that it's not. There's some spectacular effects. My daughter-in-law works for a publicist company that represents CGI people. So I'm not saying that don't get rid of that. She needs the job, but sometimes it replaces creativity. That's all. It's just too easy to go to that.
If Jim Henson was alive today, he would not be a huge fan.
Yeah, I'll bet you're right.
There was something more lifelike with his puppetry, and I don't know. It's just something more, I don't know, about the, like Earl Sinclair, for example, how they can move the eyebrow. I don't know. There's just something more lifelike. And I think even you want to call it the puppeteer, the actor inside the suit, it gives it more life than I think CGI can. I don't know.
I think so. They're doing great stuff with animals. They're really doing some terrific stuff with animals. And I honestly believe that with all this fake stuff that you can put words in a person's mouth and make their face you can do anything with CGI, which is a little scary. It's creative in a way, but it's a little scary that it creates a lot of, fake news has been going around a lot, but it creates a lot of problems when it comes to the truth.
There's a lot of this face swapping software that's out now, and I don't know why I can't think of the actual name of it right now, but it's actually, it's what they're using in Hollywood films, but now people can do it on their own computers, and it's getting better and better every day. And I think here in 10 years, you're not going to be able to turn on your TV if that's really an actor or if that's...
Well, yeah, that's interesting because when we did not necessarily the news, the one thing we never did was replaced a person's voice. You know, when Reagan spoke, when Kissinger spoke, and it was always their words, and they wrote funny things around it. Now with this face swapping thing, you can have, well, in the day, Reagan say anything, and people will believe it. And that's a little strange. To me, it's a little dangerous.
One of my great friends and clients, his name's Dean Z, an amazing Elvis, I don't want to say impersonator, tribute artist. He's actually like one of the top 5 like in the world. Like he was just flown out to, I don't know if it was Germany or New Zealand, somewhere crazy. And they actually put his face and then meshed it with Elvis Presley's real face for a Fiat commercial for a car. And it was so incredible. And it was almost scary how, I mean, it's just crazy what they can do, but.
Yes, if they can use those skills for niceness instead of badness, it would be a good thing.
That's right. Now, with Steven Spielberg, what was his part in Arachnophobia? Did he direct that, or was he just...
No, he produced it.
That's what I thought.
The 2 things I did with Frank was Arachnophobia and a little part in Congo, and Mr. Spielberg produced both of them. Frank directed them.
That film was so successful that it gained over $53 million at the box office. That is pretty damn phenomenal.
What, Arachnophobia?
Yeah. Wow. 53 million.
Wow. And I only get 2.5% of that, so I'm a happy guy.
There you go. How does it feel to say that you've been a part of the Golden Girls?
Well, I feel old talking about the Golden Girls, Chris. It's been a long time. It's a great that's a great show. Those people that's another nice experience meeting those ladies. I mean, B. Arthur, coming from the theater, B. Arthur, who comes from the theater. I mean, it was great to meet her. Stell Getty, we became kind of award show friends because it was during the days of the cable award, the National Cable Association. We always saw each other. And Betty, we're friends to this day. We play poker, or at least used to, about once a month in something called the Pico Poker Club. And because she was a very dear friend of Bob Stewart, who created the Pyramid and Password and all that. I don't know about Password, but we used to see each other a lot at his social events, and we played poker together once at least once a month. So we still stay in touch, and it's always an honor to know that I work with her. I work with Betty on a game show, I think, and in Golden Girls. But whenever I'm near her, I'm starstruck. I'm just starstruck because she's such an icon, even more famous than I am.
You are still in touch with Betty White, the Betty White.
The Betty White, yeah. She's fine. She's getting old or older, but she's got, about a few months ago. She took us out to dinner. Some of the Pico Poker people. We all went out to dinner together. I don't know why. Maybe she missed us. She loves it, and she loves that game. And take a guess at the stakes that we play for at that Pico Poker game.
I couldn't even guess.
A dime.
Really?
It's a dime game. We bet dimes, and she loves it. And every time it's over, she's always sad that it's over. She loves it. She's in some of her books. She's actually written about some of the Pico Poker people, and they once went on, I think, Family Feud. I wasn't there, but Betty and a bunch of the Pico Poker players went and competed against somebody else. She's a great lady. She's funny. She's dirty. She's great. She's just great. I'm like I said, I'm honored to know her. I'm honored to be a friend. She came to see me in a play that I did. It's great. It's just great to know her. She's a great lady. Great lady.
That is so awesome, Stuart. You were talking about not necessarily the news earlier. I got to say, when I first interviewed you 5 years ago, gosh, I can't believe it's been 5 years. I started looking up not necessarily the news on YouTube, and I have got to say, I have not laughed that hard. And I mean, that reminds me of like classic Saturday Night Live. It was great. I mean, it still holds up so good today. And Stu, you were, I'm not being biased here, but you were the funniest character on that show. I mean, those sketches were just awesome.
That's very sweet. Thank you. Yeah. that was a great experience. Talk about friendships. We're still, those of us who are around. Danny Breen, who was on the show, died close to 2 years, maybe a year, maybe more ago. But Danny and Mitch and Annie on the show, even Lucy, we stay in touch to this day. I mean, Mitch flew in from North Carolina or South Carolina for Danny's memorial service. I mean, we just like each other. And the experience of that show was starting with nothing. I mean, dressing literally the first day dressing in a bathroom at the Shell station in Sylmar, California, to, it never got huge, but it was a great experience with great people, very talented writers, funny material, and just, it was a pleasure going to work with those people. It was just great.
I'll never forget the hot cider sketch. I laughed my ass off on that. The Christmas carolers came, and you asked your wife you said, "Honey, give me some hot cider," and you just poured it on them. Put it out the window. So silly. Yeah. Oh man.
I mean, we did that. That's you can get very happily. Well, first of all, I don't know if it's never going to be rerun. It's never going to, because there's a problem with the Writers Guild, and there were so many writers, and because of the contract, if one show was run, every writer that ever worked for the show for 6 years or 8 years had to get paid. But you can see a bunch of them on YouTube. Some of the whole episodes too on YouTube. Well, look, we did 85, 86 of them. I don't remember. People ask me about the news. I say, I like the hot cider. I don't remember. We did so many on location and in the studio. But it was great, man. My son was born, during this era of the news. It was great.
This year, it's just been crazy. COVID, everything, so much loss. And this year we lost a good one. An amazingly gifted actor, Fred Willard. I'll never forget, for your birthday, I once photoshopped you holding a cat in a fancy sweater. I'll cut away to it if I still have it. It was like an old Olin Mills photo or something I wanted to replicate just to be funny and to wish you a happy birthday on Facebook. It's the least I could do. And I'll never forget that Fred Willard liked your photo that I did and commented on it. And I just flipped out. I mean, I had to rub my eyes twice and go, is that really Fred Willard? And I had no idea you knew Fred. I mean, but I should have known better. I mean, you were Stuart Pankin. You know everybody. But seriously, what a loss. What a loss. What was your relationship like with Fred, and did you guys work together?
Yeah, a few times. I think the first time I worked with Fred is that he did something called the Ace Trucking Company. That was one of his comedy groups, and somebody got sick, and he brought me in. He said, "Would you come in and fill in for this guy?" And he wrote the most dirty version of Who's on First that I've ever heard. But Fred and I did that together, and then we took that group to a high school or something, and we did another version of that. So that's the first time. Then because of that, I met his wife, Mary Willard, who sadly died about a year before Fred did, and she's a poker player. So she used to get us together at her house occasionally with Fred and with Ted Lange and a lot of other actors and nice people. So we saw each other then. Then we did a version, or somebody did a version in honor of Carl Reiner's anniversary of a play that he wrote called Enter Laughing. It was a musical, wonderful musical. And Fred was in that, and I was in that. And we did that twice. We did it at the Taper, and then we did it at another theater in West Los Angeles. So that, the plays and the poker, that's how we got to know each other. And he's a fascinating guy. I mean, well, to use the word well known is diminishing, what the world thinks of him. But he was loved. He was very, very loved among his friends. So I was, again, happy to know him, really, really happy to have spent some time with him.
Yeah, what a great actor, and loved him in Waiting for Guffman. What a great film.
Yeah.
Speaking of like quarantine and such, a lot of people spend this time watching a lot of Netflix, binge watching and whatnot. Are you a big Netflix watcher? And if so, what are some shows that you have been enjoying lately?
Netflix, I've been watching something called Hellstrom. It's a ghost story on Netflix, Hellstrom something. Also, I just started to watch Queen's Gambit, which is a show about a prodigy, young girl prodigy chess player. Enjoy that. I watch a lot of crap, but those aren't crap. I mean, there is a lot of crap. I mean, the Haunting of Bay Manor is something I watch. That. Look, you're in the house, you watch it. Mostly, Joe and I watch BritBox and Acorn TV, which is English stuff. We love some of that English stuff, and we've been watching that for years. I can give you the names of them, but you know. I don't remember them. I mean, but we watch an awful lot. Miss Marple, Midsummer Murders. If I know you're going to ask me that, I would have written them down. But BritBox and Acorn really get us through. We watched something on Hulu called Harrow, which I like very much. Ian Grufford, English actor. He was in the who's the guy that stretches and the character that's
the Fantastic
Fantastic Four.
Yeah,
Fantastic Four. He did.
I know who you're talking about.
He was the stretchy guy. Anyway, that's really good. But as far as Netflix and stuff, I sometimes just sit there if I'm alone in the house and sample little bits and pieces, watch 5 minutes. If I don't like it, I turn it off because there is so much product on television. And that's a problem because, you can't have that much product and have it all good. But if you go through Netflix or Hulu or Amazon Prime, you're going to see hundreds of shows and movies and TV shows. A very, in my opinion, and a very small percentage are really like, wow, that's good. I mean, there are some, and next time you interview me, I'll write them down for you. But for the most part, it's like they're filling up their library of films. But the ones that I mentioned are the ones that come to mind. Yeah, I watch a lot of crap.
I'm the guy who gets on Netflix and starts like previewing stuff, and then before you know it, I just fall asleep. I don't start anything. I'm asleep. So one I'm gonna start. I'm a little behind on is Schitt's Creek. Have you heard of that one?
Oh yeah, I've heard of it. I watch it. I tell you, I'm probably the only one in America. It's not my cup of tea. It's just a little, out there. I think those people are tremendously talented. I mean,
I bet Fred Willard would have been in that.
He could very well have been because he's that Chris Guest. He's a Chris Guest.
Yep.
Yeah. It's just not my cup of tea. Look, there are, Laverne and Shirley, God bless them, were tremendously popular for years and years. I never liked it. I mean, there were things that sometimes in the old days in the movies, I would see a movie and I'd hear people screaming at stuff that I wouldn't scrape off the bottom of my shoe. I mean, that's. But my taste in comedy is maybe I'm too close to it. I don't know. It's just that there's not a lot of things that make me laugh, but when they do make me laugh, I fall out of the chair. I mean, literally, I've done that in movie theaters and at home. I have fallen out of the chair.
Give me an example of a movie that you just hysterical to you.
Well, Airplane, for one. I saw it in a movie theater, and when he said, "Hey, Bobby, you like Gladiator movie?" I fell out of the chair. My wife will get that. Sorry, I'm talking to Chris. I can't remember a lot of them. There was a. You got it. There was a Sherlock Holmes movie with Michael Caine. He had a line. I'm not going to say it because it's not going to mean anything out of context. But he came up with that line, and I literally fell off the couch breathing. You're afraid that you can't catch your breath. It's like you go, and then you're afraid you can't get it back in again. I'm not, Peter Sellers, I loved his physical comedy. But I love verbal comedy too, just as much, maybe even more.
What about Mel Brooks? You a Mel Brooks fan?
Oh yeah, I mean, I've worked with Mr. Brooks 3 times, so Yeah, he's the first thing I ever did as a kid in high school was memorize the 2,000-Year-Old Man, and got up on stage at the talent show and did it. Hello, this is me then, when you were, but I'm not. Yeah, he's great. I've laughed a lot at his movies because he's a wonderful combination of the physical stuff, the visual stuff, and the verbal stuff. And again, that's another guy that I'm really happy to have. I've got to work with. I mean, we did Life Stinks together, the first thing, and he directed, starred, produced. I mean, we were together every day, so you got to see the guy work, you know. And he's a. People throw around the words brilliant and genius and amazing too much, but Mel, in a large sense, was brilliant. I mean, he came up with unique comedy ideas, and he was able to translate them from his head, his nutty, crazy little Jewish head, to the screen. You know, that's another thing. I mean, you can be the cleverest person in the world if you can't get it out as far as a creative or visual artist. It ain't good. I mean, it's like I used to say all the time. You know, you ever see Death of a Salesman? No, I read the script. Well, you're not seeing Death of a Salesman. A script is not a play. You know, just like these Zoom shows that I do, God bless them, because I enjoy doing them. They're not plays. The play is you need actors reacting with each other and an audience. You need an audience. And if you don't have that, you're not getting the theater experience that goes back to the Greeks. You know, so it's very frustrating to do these Zoom things. Nowadays, everybody's doing it, but it's not theater. It's something else. You know, and there could be some great actors doing it, but it's just you're not seeing. I would never judge anybody by a performance that I saw in a Zoom play reading thing. You know what I'm saying? Because it's not theater, and theater is also, you know, theoretically, it evolves night after night, especially in the long run. You see a show in the beginning and you see a show in the end, it's going to be different because it changes, and it never changes in Zoom. Anyway.
Yeah, the Zoom things are great, but you cannot compare them to a live theatrical play or
No.
I mean, it is neat to see everybody come together in a lot of these Zoom, whatever you want to call them, reunion shows, but it's not the same.
And even I have a friend who works on one-man shows, and I guess you could say, well, that's more Zoom-like. But even that, if there's no audience, if there's no reaction, we're not sitting in an audience, feeling what's going on, listening to the laughs, listening to the ahs, listening to the groans, it's not the same thing.
I agree.
You can write that down.
Write that right now. Speaking of Mel Brooks, this is that time where I put on Young Frankenstein. So I think I'm going to watch it actually tonight when I go to bed.
Oh, cool.
So, did you happen to see Tiger King by chance on Netflix?
Never.
Joe Exotic, ring a bell?
No.
Oh, man. You got to look up Joe Exotic. I actually interviewed that man, I think right around when I interviewed you, and Joe Exotic... actually, a lot of people wrote he got us through the first half of this quarantine thing. Like, you got to look up Joe Exotic, the Tiger King. It is a crazy Netflix series. But when I interviewed the guy, I don't know how I forgot how I came across him. But that was 5 years ago, and now all of a sudden Netflix, he's like the biggest thing on Netflix. And I think he's in prison right now too. So I don't want to give too much away. If those who are watching, if you know Tiger King, Joe Exotic, I mean, you guys know what I'm talking about. But Stu, you got to look that up. Yeah,
I don't know him. I never met him. I didn't pay that much money for him.
I just saw the trailer for your upcoming film titled Deep in the Forest. Holy cow, what an awesome looking film. Guys, we're going to cut away to it right now.
Immigrants, socialists, and other dissidents, they have one objective: to destroy America.
Enough. Don't forget, we got the Dem Club meeting tonight.
The government is normalizing fascism.
There's been a bomb in the Capitol building.
I move to adjourn.
Second.
Hands in plain view. You're under arrest by order of the United States government. Everybody out!
Will someone tell us what's going on? You just kidnapped us?
You're a wanted man.
All of us were on an arrest list, and he was assigned to get us to a safe house. You want to go? Go.
You know what people are? Eventually it's going to come down to survival of the fittest.
Cold is going to be a problem. It's not just guerrilla raids.
Don't move!
We're talking full-blown civil war.
I see a car.
What?
The basement, come on, move!
What makes you think that redneck's not gonna turn us into the first local he comes across? So we're detaining an innocent man. It's not who we are.
We're not the government. We're just a group of people trying to survive.
What's the difference? Max's health is failing.
We have 8 days of supplies.
It's not just a question of doing something.
Amy!
It's a question of doing the right thing.
Stop! No!
Ants. You okay?
Guys, that was Deep in the Forest. Stuart, again, so awesome. Can't wait to see it. Tell us about this film.
Well, we did that. I did that in one other movie just before the pandemic. It was written by and directed by a guy named Jeremy Lanny, who I've worked with before. He's a guy who does a lot of short films and he puts them into festivals and he tries to get some, he's actually won some awards from them. But Deep in the Forest is a long form about these people, kind of political, these people who are, for the most part, against the government. And they have to go off and hide someplace because there are wars against people who are against the government. The government is tracking them down and would kill them or imprison them if they could. And it's basically a bunch of guys in a house trying to cope with their quarantine. You know, they're being quarantined. And then there are bad guys who show up and they have to capture somebody and guys come in and steal their food. It's kind of, you know, and then there's gunplay involved and violence, you know, not a lot, but it was a kind of an interesting project. Again, fun because one, Peter Jason, who I mentioned before, was in it. And he works with Jeremy a lot.
I noticed.
And a lot of very, very good, friendly people. Again, very nice to go to work. There was no contretemps, no problems on the set, and I'm anxious to see the damn thing, see how it turns out.
Where'd you guys film that at?
Simi Valley, California.
Okay.
It's up north of Los Angeles and to the west.
Okay.
In a house that's been used before for various locations. Yeah, we came up there. We shot for about, I don't know, 2-3 weeks maybe, off and on. And I'm kind of anxious to see what it looks like.
I think the teaser looks fantastic. It's got this
eerie
feel. It's got this, kind of. I mean, it's kind of eerily relevant feeling with everything going on.
That's the thing. When all this stuff started to happen, Jeremy wrote to us and it says, I said to him, get your movie out fast because it's very relevant as far as government versus others, no matter what side you're on. I mean, our side is ostensibly the good guys, but it ends, there's tremendous amount of sex and violence. No, actually there isn't. So it's too bad. It would have been an easier sell.
Stu, again, thank you so much for taking the time. I've just enjoyed this time so much this evening.
I mean, it's always a pleasure.
Is there anything else you'd like to share with us before we sign off here?
I've got my scalp is kind of itchy, so I got to take care of that before. But beyond that, no, I'm fine. I think that's it. I mean, in the days of pandemic, as my friend says, there's not a lot. I mean, there are people, younger people that like you that are doing some tremendous things, writing, podcasts, all that stuff. Us old farts, we just, sit here and hope that guys like you want to talk to us.
Oh man, no, you're incredible. And I would, one of these days, my dream is to, once this whole COVID thing's over, is to really work on a project like that where I would love to work with you. I really would.
I'm there anytime.
The industry out here, I know it's a lot different out there. I own a video production business. I've been blessed, grateful to continue to still work safely. Out here, it's kind of weird. It's kind of weird out here, I'll be honest with you, and I think it does have to do with population density, so we're allowed to be a little more open, but always masking up, always, doing the thing. I'm just, right now, I just got a text about a video shoot tomorrow with a client, so I'm very fortunate to be doing that, but yeah, one of these days, I would just absolutely love to work with you.
Anytime.
We were technically doing doing the whole COVID thing a few years back when you did do a little cameo in a 20 or a 48-hour film festival I did. So we were kind of doing the whole internet Zoom thing before it was a thing.
I remember my son was helping to run the little camera, the camera phone. And yeah, I remember that, sitting behind a desk with no pants on. Yeah, I remember.
You know it. That was so fun. Well, Stu, thank you so much again for being a guest on the Chris Canote Show. Thank you for entertaining us through the years and continuing to entertain us. You are such a gift, my friend.
You make me feel very good, and I appreciate every sentiment. I really do.
I'll actually never forget. Oh, well, thanks, man. I'll actually never forget that time we had lunch in LA, and we were actually at the diner that you shot an episode of Curb Your Enthusiasm in.
That's exactly right. I remember that. I still have pictures of those.
And my next guest is Dan Jablins, who actually played one of Larry David's attorneys in the show. And he actually texted me the other day and he said to tell you hello. And he is a huge fan and he would love to meet and have lunch with you one of these days.
All right. Well, as soon as we can stick our heads out of the house, I'll take him up on it. We'll meet at Izzy's Deli.
That's awesome. Stu, thanks so much again for being a guest on the show.
Pleasure, pal. Pleasure. Talk to you soon, I hope.
Absolutely. Guys, Stuart Pankin. What an incredible man. Not just a great actor, but just a beautiful human being, a beautiful spirit. This guy brings me joy all the time. Just a good dude. And we should be so grateful for all of his works. I don't know. I look at things so differently now as an adult. Looking at the industry, at what these guys do for us. For us normal dudes. I'm not saying they're not normal either. What is normal, right? But for real, these iconic shows like Dinosaurs, films like Arachnophobia, they truly affect us. They truly are a part of American history. It's kind of like Home Alone. When I was working on the documentary Stigma, which is still coming out, Home Alone is an American tradition. It's not just a film, it's a tradition. Things like Dinosaurs, movies like Arachnophobia, for me, it's a tradition. It has an impact on my life. Part of the reason why I do what I do today, I'm in film, is because I was so influenced by amazing pieces of art like Dinosaurs. I mean, Jim Henson. This is why I do what I do. Stuart Pankin's a gift. Like, legit. This sounds really cheesy, probably. I don't care. Guys, I'm Chris Canote with The Chris Canote Show. I hope you guys really enjoyed the episode. Comment below, what is a favorite cartoon that Stuart Pankin has voiced? What is your favorite film that Stuart Pankin has starred in? What is your favorite TV show that Stuart Pankin has been in? There's so many. Go to his IMDb list. It's pretty incredible. Guys, I'm Chris Canote with The Chris Canote Show. We'll see you guys next time.